Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we're going to find out who the alien Cooper really is. In the vast and ever-changing universe of modern science fiction cinema, filled with colossal creatures, dazzling spaceships, and dystopian futures, there is one being who, despite time and obscurity, continues to evoke a strange mix of fear, compassion, and fascination. He doesn't appear in rankings of iconic villains, nor tops any lists of the most memorable movie monsters. However, his story, deeply tragic and emotional, remains etched in the hearts of those who looked beyond the spectacle. We're talking about the enigmatic alien from Super 8, whom many fans have nicknamed Cooper. But to reduce him to the label of monster would be a narrative injustice. This being is not just a strange visitor from the cosmos. He is a castaway from the stars, trapped in a world that failed to understand him. An advanced consciousness faced with the brutality of humanity. A silent witness to decades of fear, confinement, and torture. Super 8, directed by J.J. Abrams and produced by none other than Steven Spielberg, hit theaters in 2011 as a living homage to 1980s cinema. Its wrapping was steeped in nostalgia. Adventurous kids, bicycles at sunset, Super 8 cameras, and a hidden threat lurking behind the apparent calm of a small town. But beneath that charming surface lay a much denser, darker, and more mature story. The story of Cooper. A tale about how fear of the unknown can turn explorers into prisoners and scientists into jailers. The creature appears on screen as a predator in the shadows. He abducts, destroys, causes blackouts, and fuels collective paranoia. But as the story unfolds, the attentive viewer begins to decipher the real motivations behind his behavior. What seems like a threat is revealed as a desperate cry for freedom. What appears to be rage is, in fact, survival. Cooper didn't come to conquer. He came to observe. He doesn't seek to enslave. He simply wants to return home. Every one of his actions, no matter how violent they seem, is rooted in pain and in a surprising degree of humanity for a creature that isn't even human. To truly understand Cooper, we have to go back several decades. The story doesn't begin with the train derailment. It starts in 1957, during the height of the Cold War, when his ship was detected by Soviet radars crossing the sky. From above, he observed Earth with a mix of curiosity and caution, a sort of silent explorer who preferred to watch before making contact. The Soviets, alerted by the extraterrestrial presence, attempted to communicate with him using the Sputnik 6 satellite. That gesture alone was enough to provoke the United States, fearful of falling behind in the tech race, into launching an unprecedented secret operation. Thus was born Operation Argo, a covert mission aimed at intercepting and neutralizing the alien spacecraft before it fell into enemy hands. What followed was an undeclared act of war. A nuclear missile was launched at Cooper's ship mid-atmosphere, partially destroying it and forcing it to crash on American soil. From that moment on, what could have been the beginning of a peaceful encounter between species turned into a nightmare. The creature was captured, immobilized, and locked away in secret facilities, probably in Area 51 or a similar site. That's where his ordeal began. For decades, Cooper was subjected to all kinds of tests and experiments. His body was opened, his mind invaded, his biology endlessly analyzed. He was fed raw meat as if he were a savage beast, his obvious intelligence completely ignored. He was treated like an object, a trophy, a problem to be kept under wraps. Anything but a conscious being, anything but an individual. But amid that inhumane routine, a spark of connection emerged. Dr. Thomas Woodward. Unlike the rest of the scientific staff, Woodward not only recognized Cooper's intelligence, but managed to establish a telepathic bond with him. It wasn't a conventional conversation, but rather a communion of thoughts, emotions, and shared memories. A form of communication that transcended language and revealed that behind Cooper's monstrous appearance lay a mind as complex and sensitive as any human's. Thanks to Woodward, Cooper held on to a sliver of hope amid his suffering. The ship, for its part, was no less extraordinary, built with technology still incomprehensible to us. Based on electromagnetic cubes with almost organic behavior, it was studied unsuccessfully for years. These cubes seemed to possess a consciousness of their own and only responded to Cooper. Despite all efforts, the scientists never managed to understand or replicate its technology. In 1979, after years of captivity, the government decided to transfer both the alien and the remains of his ship to another facility. That's when Woodward made the riskiest decision of his life. He sabotaged the train transporting Cooper, causing one of the most spectacular train crashes ever depicted on screen. He did it knowing he might not survive, but also knowing it was the only chance to return freedom to a being who should never have been imprisoned. The plan worked. Cooper escaped, and with his escape, a chain of events began that would forever change the town of Lillian. From that point, the film adopts the rhythm of a heartfelt mystery, led by a group of teenagers who, unknowingly, find themselves caught in a conspiracy far beyond what their camera can capture. Cooper, meanwhile, acts with determination. He hides, collects electronic parts, secretly rebuilds his ship, and avoids all direct contact. But he doesn't do it out of hatred, he does it out of necessity. His only wish is to leave. Each of his appearances is carefully crafted to build tension, but also to reveal humanity. Cooper doesn't attack without reason. He doesn't destroy for pleasure. He only reacts to hostility with the instinct of a being who has been tortured for decades. The only kind memory he holds of humans is Woodward, and that memory guides each of his decisions like a moral compass in the midst of a nightmare. Visually, Cooper shares some traits with the creature from Cloverfield: erratic movement, disproportionate body, and unconventional alien design. That's no coincidence. Both creatures were born from Abrams' vision, and even though the director has made it clear they don't exist in the same universe, the conceptual kinship is undeniable. Both represent the figure of the misunderstood stranger, the other feared for being different, the visitor turned enemy because we failed to see him as an equal. As for the nickname Cooper, there are many theories. One of the most accepted among fans points to a reference to the fictional Rocket Poppets candies, whose mascot was Captain Cooper. These sweets appear in the film as part of the town's background, and according to the viral marketing that surrounded Super 8's release, Captain Cooper claimed to have witnessed a UFO sighting in West Germany during the 1950s. A subtle connection, but one rich in symbolism. For years, fans of mystery and science fiction have scrutinized every frame, every press statement, and every trace of marketing in search of hidden clues that might intertwine two deeply intriguing cinematic universes, Super 8 and Cloverfield. The connections suggested by fans have been plentiful, from visual tones to the biological design of the creatures, which fueled hopes of a shared narrative, a kind of monsterverse, secretly crafted by J.J. Abrams' mind. Theories, forensic scene analyses, comparisons of ambient sounds, and even thematic parallels have given life to a fascinating array of speculations. And although the collective imagination has proven to be as fertile as it is passionate, Abrams himself has been unequivocal. Super 8 and Cloverfield exist in completely independent realities. There is no shared timeline, no cloned creature, nor organization linking both stories behind the scenes. They are not connected, he said. Period. However, as often happens when something captivates us deeply, logic is not always enough to extinguish the flame of fascination. With the release of the Cloverfield paradox, which expanded, albeit chaotically, the Cloverfield universe, forums, theory channels, and fan videos ignited once again. fueling the idea that maybe, just maybe, JJ was playing a game of misdirection. But let's put speculation on pause and focus on the protagonist of this story. The creature that fell, or rather, was shot down from the sky in the events of Super 8. A being that, beyond its enormous strength and alien appearance, carries a surprisingly intimate narrative. This being, nicknamed by some followers as Cooper, is much more than an interstellar threat. It is the emotional core of a film that, disguised as a monster movie, is actually a meditation on pain, loss, and the hope for redemption. From a physical point of view, Cooper is impressive. It is a creature nearly 4 meters tall whose morphology defies our biological categories. Its silhouette blends humanoid with arachnid, vertebrate with amorphous. It possesses 6 limbs that it can use independently or together, granting it a fluid and eerie mobility. It can walk on all of them with agility reminiscent of a predatory insect, but it can also stand upright on 2 legs and adopt an almost bipedal posture when required. This posture shift is not only functional, but symbolic. In its quadrupedal form, it represents the incomprehensible threat. In its upright form, a conscious creature attempting to communicate. What is fascinating is how this creature, with its imposing size, can move stealthily, hide in urban environments, and operate within confined spaces, such as train cars or tunnels. Its skin, a grayish tone with nearly bioluminescent white lines, seems designed for nocturnal or subterranean camouflage. We never see it under direct sunlight, which has led to speculation that its species could be photosensitive or even fully nocturnal, evolved in an environment where sunlight is scarce or non-existent. One of the most captivating details of its design is its face. Far from being a mere mask of terror, its face is full of emotional nuances. It has 6 central orifices that could function as a respiratory or olfactory system, and enormous dark eyes with green reflections that project both intelligence and suffering. Retractable membranes cover its eyes in moments of tension or alertness, acting as a visual extension of its body language. In one of the most moving scenes, when Joe confronts it at the emotional climax of the film, these membranes visibly contract, reflecting a mixture of caution, contained rage, and deep sadness. It is pure cinema. Without a single word, the monster tells us exactly how it feels. But what truly elevates it above other creatures in the genre is its intelligence. Cooper is not just strong. It is strategic, methodical, and technologically advanced. After escaping its prison, it is seen collecting specific electronic parts, avoiding unnecessary confrontations, and reconstructing its ship with admirable precision. It is not unleashing chaos out of rage. It is building its way home. The technology it manipulates, especially the enigmatic white cubes with electromagnetic properties, is clearly more advanced than anything human. These cubes, capable of levitating, assembling, and forming complex structures as if they had a life of their own, are an extension of its species. It not only knows how they work, it understands them instinctively. That is why the military never managed to replicate their technology. To them, they were strange pieces. To Cooper, they were memories. And here comes into play one of its most unique abilities: telepathic communication. It is not constant nor accessible at will. It only occurs through direct physical contact and requires a certain degree of emotional openness on the human side. Thanks to this ability, Cooper was able to connect with Dr. Thomas Woodward, the only human who saw in it something more than a laboratory specimen. In their brief encounters, Woodward discovered that behind that alien anatomy there were thoughts, emotions, and even pain. It was that bond, not a weapon, not an order, that motivated Woodward to sacrifice his life to free Cooper during the train transfer. An act of compassion amid decades of systematic cruelty. Because, let us not forget, Cooper did not come here as an invader. It was shot down. It was hunted, captured, and imprisoned. What it does afterward, detaining humans, attacking vehicles, destroying facilities, does not respond to a desire for extermination, but to a vital need to survive and escape. Yes, it feeds on meat. Yes, its methods may seem brutal, but they are the reflexes of a wounded being, not of an evil mind. In fact, one of the most sinister and revealing details of its behavior is that it does not always kill its victims immediately. Some are kept alive, hung in its underground lair, perhaps as future food, or perhaps as an unconscious reflection of what it itself experienced. Years of confinement, immobilization, and isolation. Is it not unknowingly replicating the same captivity cycle it suffered? As if that were not enough, Cooper possesses another extraordinary ability: the manipulation of electromagnetic fields. Its mere presence disables electrical systems, interferes with communications, turns off lights, and blocks sensors. In a world where technology is our shield, Cooper represents a threat, not only physical, but existential. It reminds us how vulnerable we are when electricity ceases to obey.